I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody that reached out to me and has given me unconditional love and support as I embark on this next part of my activism, which of course now is my YouTube channel. The most important thing for me is that it starts difficult, open and honest discussions within those of the Jehovah's Witness faith community. Jehovah's Witnesses find it very difficult to challenge the authority of the governing body once it is given its pronouncement on any particular subject. They are expected to follow without question, no matter what the consequences. This video that I'm presenting to you tonight is probably one of the most difficult subjects I could ever handle, and it won't be a particularly long video. Suicide and mental illness is a scourge the world over. It doesn't discriminate about a person's age, race, income, nationality, whether they're famous or whether they're not famous. It doesn't matter whether we're a mother or a father or a brother. It doesn't matter whether we're a tradesperson or a professor. It can strike at any time, and unfortunately, untold amounts of people are suffering or have unfortunately taken the step of ending their own lives. This is a tragedy with complex and difficult reasons for why people suffer with mental illness. But this video is about the way that the governing body has dealt with the survivors and with the families that have been left behind. The reason why I feel so strongly about this is quite simply this. When I was a young guy, one day we were out at the beach and were swimming, and I was taken out by a rip. And before long, I was a long way from shore, and I was really struggling. And to be honest with you, I didn't know how long that I could survive out there. It was an unpatrolled beach, and we made the rather foolish decision to go swimming. But fortunately for me, my best friend, who was a few years older than us, was a very strong swimmer, and he swam right out and he saved myself and another one of my friends. And I was really exhausted when we got back to the beach. But you know what? From that moment on, he became my best friend. Paul and I were very zealous in the ministry as Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was a real privilege to see him grow as a man and grow in his faith. He became an elder in the Jehovah's Witness organisation, husband, and also a father to two very small girls when he was diagnosed with having it's very difficult, having a mental disorder. Unfortunately, Paul committed suicide, and this really, really shocked me. It hurt me so much that the person that saved my life, I was unable to help him. But I'm very grateful to him that I'm alive, that I am a husband of Monica of over 20 years, father of Charlie, and have been able to contribute in such a meaningful way in society, even after I left the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, aka Jehovah's Witnesses. But this is the point. How has the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses treated those left behind? Well, I'm going to tell you how they treat them and how they have treated them in the past. Another friend of mine, and I have permission to tell this story, his name is Richard, and he's one of my very best friends. His family were all Jehovah's Witnesses, zealous and faithful and very active in their faith. Anyway, at some point his father became unwell, mentally unwell, and he was diagnosed with a mental disorder himself. And then sometime later, he didn't return home. So they all went looking for their father. Unfortunately, his son, Richard, my friend, thought of places that his father maybe could visit, and he happened to chance upon his father's car, and there he found his father had committed suicide. This was absolutely and utterly distressing to him to find his father dead. Just imagine this. A wife has lost her husband, her best friend, the breadwinner for the family. The children have lost a loving father and also a best friend. And on top of that, Richard the son finds his father dead in a car from suicide. Imagine that distress. I'm going to ask you a question. How do you think that Jehovah's Witnesses handled that situation? Do you think that they threw their arms around them, looking after them in their darkest hour, comforting them with scriptures from the Bible maybe, and the hope for the future? Do you think that they showed that they were part of the most loving people in the world, the happiest people in the world, living in a spiritual paradise, being provided a banquet of spiritual food from the governing body emanating out of New York? Do you think that's what happened? Well, if you did, unfortunately, that isn't the situation. This is what happened. Two elders arrived at their home and told them this, that the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses viewed anybody that committed suicide as committing the unforgivable sin, quote unquote, and that their father was not going to be resurrected. Because of this unforgivable sin, and him having virtually no chance of ever being resurrected, it was not possible for Jehovah's Witnesses to even conduct the service, the funeral service. Could you imagine that? You've lost your husband, your partner, the breadwinner, the father of your children. Your son has found his father dead in a car. And what do Jehovah's Witnesses offer? Condemnation and judgment and public humiliation. Does that sound like a loving group of people? Does that sound like the happiest people in the world living in a spiritual paradise? You make your own mind up about that. The only positive out of this is that my friend Richard is no longer a Jehovah's Witness. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Matthew Christopher. Thank you for your support.